Introduce Eliora, which I love that name, by the way. Eliora is a beautiful name. And Eliora is an online educator and program creator in the holistic health and well-being realm. And she has been mentoring for 7 years. And she's been gracious enough to put together this workshop on building trust and rapport for our mentorship program. And I'm so glad that you are here. And this is being recorded. So if you're not here in person, or I guess on in real time, then you'll be watching this recording. So hopefully you enjoy it. I know you will because Eliora is fantastic. And I'll leave it to you now, Eliora.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And welcome, everybody. Please feel free. Just know that this workshop is interactive. It's a place where I want you to feel totally comfortable. If you have any questions, feel free to raise your hands. And this is definitely a very safe and confidential space. Whatever you're sharing here, it's just going to stay within us. And in that case, if you do even want to share some personal stories or how things are applying in your life, the main intention really is that it's going to be something that's applicable and relevant to your everyday life. So let's just have fun with it and yeah, really enjoy this hour that we have together. So yeah, like we said, this is a workshop on the topic of building trust and rapport. And we're going to go into some of the topics that we're going to be covering in this workshop. Um, we're just going to start with understanding what active listening is. Then we're going to go into creating some spaces for open conversations. Then we're going to cover some techniques for trust building and strategies to foster empathy. And then we're going to also have some tools for building rapport and team cohesion. So these are things that you can apply and utilize them not just in your work life or volunteer life, but also in with your family, your friends. And that's why I love this topic because it's just so relevant and so helpful in everything we do in everyday life. It's going to assist us just to grow as human beings. So yeah, let's start. We're going to go into active listening just as a space to really think about what does it mean to build trust and rapport with people. Personally, I felt that that was the excellent place to start because listening is what helps us to understand and relate to another person. And oftentimes in this very fast-paced culture, we're very busy on our phones or working, and so many times I find we can struggle sometimes to slow down and really open up to the people that we view around us and just take a deep breath and inhale and exhale and really notice where they're at. So let's see what are some qualities of active listening. First is being approachable. Trying as much as you can when you meet people to be down to earth, to be friendly. Trying to meet people where they're at, meaning that you're not making assumptions about them. You're trying as much as you can to arrive with a fresh mindset, a learner's mindset, being able to learn and grow and be teachable. Having presence and attention. So this is something that I find is kind of relatable to what I was saying earlier about being in a mainstream culture of very busy and fast paced. It might take us a little bit of time to really ground and just be in this present moment because oftentimes we multitask, we have emails, we have messages, we have people asking for our attention pretty much 24/7, especially with social media. So just being present means also being in your body, feeling what emotions you're feeling right now, what thoughts are going through your mind, and not necessarily getting attached to one thought or the other, but just to notice them and having that more mindfulness approach. Um, Also having lots of compassion and understanding. So whenever we want to connect and build a good team with people, it really helps to try to understand as much as you can about their life story, where they're coming from, maybe things that they've been through that oftentimes people won't share with us right away, but it takes time for people to feel comfortable. So also to have compassion for someone's process, maybe doesn't necessarily happen as quick as we would like, but just to trust that there is a process to connecting with people, especially if it's the first time we've met them. So giving that space and understanding helps a long way. And Also, I think a lot of time people can just feel that we are welcoming them. It's an energy. It's not necessarily what we say, but it's just our attitude, having a really positive attitude that we will be growing as a team. And lastly, being mindful and having embodied communication. So, meaning, especially paying attention to our body language, remaining open, remaining welcoming, trying not to get maybe too much in our head or over intellectualize, but just to also be present and be surprised with someone's movement, someone's tone of voice, trying to be as much as we can in that learning and receiving mindset. So we're going to go here into a little bit of deeper place of how do we actually start to apply this and what are the nuances to listening and building team. Um, so creating spaces for open conversation. What I was mentioning before about intentions and our attitude and perspective. So having an open mindset and arriving with a willingness to learn. So this basically means just whenever we're running to a place, I think that all of us, we cannot help but having some premeditated assumptions that we make about people just because we're human and sometimes we can't help but kind of categorizing people, and that's normal. But as much as we can, try and also be open to be surprised and being open to thinking, okay, maybe this person looks a certain way or they have a certain job title or whatnot or a professional background but also to remember that there's so much that we don't know about this person and where they're coming from. And so just having that willingness to learn helps a lot because then people feel that they're being seen, they're being heard, they're being understood, and they also have a chance to surprise us and teach us something. Um, what I mentioned before about body language, so a lot of the time, it's little kind of subtle keys or things that we might not be conscious of. Like sometimes when we're a little nervous, we might kind of like cross our arm or move a little bit away in a sense that it creates a little bit of distance between people, and that's a lot of time an instinct or a reflex that we do, and that's natural. But as much as we can, try to remain open because people are reading the way we stand and the way we present ourselves to them, and that does actually facilitate a sense of safety and comfortability with them. Um, the body language to try to avoid is like closing our arms or turning away or not looking into the eyes of the person. Sometimes just creates a message of disconnection, and we want to facilitate connection. Tone of voice. Try as much as you can to maintain a calm tone of voice, practice deep breathing and a soothing and peaceful approach. So this is helpful, especially in situations which we might run into misunderstandings. Maybe there's some kind of a conflict that rises or some kind of a difference. Oftentimes, this is where we start having strong emotions. Maybe our heart rate is raising, and then we're starting to speak very quickly, maybe raise our tone of voice. We don't always notice that we do that. And that's also important with the compassion piece is also having compassion towards ourselves, that this is just natural. We're always learning. But as much as you can, just try to really maintain that approach of calmness. And that's where the breathing really helps too, because it helps you to regulate your own nervous system and just go back to a place of homeostasis. I don't know if anyone so far has any comments or everyone's hearing me well, seeing the slideshow well. Yeah. Okay. Okay, great. Okay. Gratitude. Also really, really helpful approach to come in. Oh, let's see, one sec. We have someone in the chat. My screen is still on the first slide. Oh, interesting. Is anyone else seeing are you seeing the gratitude slide? Oh, no. Oh, okay. Hmm. Um, there
Yeah,
is.
it's stuck on the actual it looks like the what do you call it? Page maker or PowerPoint, sorry, PowerPoint. Like
Mhm.
the background, so it doesn't hasn't actually gone into the presentation mode.
Oh, okay. Let me see one second. I'm gonna stop sharing it and then share it again. Let me know if that helps. Um, let's see. Can you see now?
It's still the page maker or PowerPoint, sorry, PowerPoint, I guess, what do you call it, interface? And hasn't
Oh,
gone to presentation yet.
um,
Maybe if you click the play, the top, I'm not sure, let's
hmm,
see.
let me see one moment.
Oh, technology. Isn't
Yeah, yeah, this
it?
is it. Um,
Let's have a look. Let's see if I can do anything here. Thanks for bringing that up, Ichan. That was,
yeah, thank
yeah,
you.
I wasn't quite sure if that was maybe purposeful, but thank you. It's always good to have.
No problem. Thanks for
Yeah,
adjusting
let
it.
me see.
No, thank you.
Yeah, it does, it can really help to just to relate with the content. So I'm
Hmm.
gonna go again. Let me see one second. Um, um,
Who can share host? Okay. You could try sending it
okay.
to me and I could try, but I don't know if that'll
Oh,
you.
yeah.
But then I'd have to click it through,
Mm,
right? But which I mean, I don't mind.
yeah, let
But
me see. I'll try to include it one more time. Can you see it now?
yeah, we can see it, but it's still just on that first slide.
Okay, so now if we go into gratitude, can you see it?
Yep, I can see that for sure.
Oh, okay, good. So I think maybe what's happening, because right now I have it just like on a, you can see it's like a smaller page, but I'm gonna go into the
Yeah.
slide so it's bigger. Can you see it now on the big screen?
No, maybe
Oh,
push the next one over, like the little one with the green arrow or the green triangle or whatever that is. Or is that not? I'm not too sure what that says
yeah,
under.
it's not that, but I think it could be something. Let me see. Um, okay. Yeah, for some
No,
reason it's
that's fine.
just not going into like the really large screen. So
That's okay.
yeah, you might, I guess you're just seeing the whole PowerPoint page, but
This is
sorry.
fine now.
Yeah, I think maybe we'll just move on with that for now, and then I'm gonna try mm, maybe just one last thing. Um, yeah, right now you can't see it, no?
No, it's just the interface.
Okay. Okay, we'll just keep it like this. So yeah, sorry about that. But
No worries.
um anyhow, so going back to the topic of gratitude, that's a really, really great way to also build trust and rapport with people because we are in a place where we're facilitating a sense of positivity, letting go of, all the things we want to maybe different or criticism or whatever negative self-talk we have in our mind and just being in a place of appreciation, a place of thankfulness. And these are just some qualities that helps here as we see in gratitude. It really helps you to shield from negativity. It makes you at least 25% happier, rewires your brain to a more positive outlook. It eliminates stress, it heals, it improves your sleep, boosts your self-esteem and overall performance, enhances the law of attraction. If you're into a more spiritual perspective, it basically helps you to just create and bring to your life positive things, and it improves your relationships. So I would say for sure, if you get a chance, this is a ritual that I've been doing the last few years of just counting three things I'm grateful for every day before I wake up and before I go to sleep. And of course, there's gratitude journals. You can write as many grateful things as you would like in one day. And it's just a really wonderful way to really connect with yourself, with other people, and yeah, just overall create connection with people. So, um, okay, great. All right. So can you see this next slide now? Okay,
Yes.
excellent. Perfect. So, techniques to actively listen without judgment. Offering people constructive feedback, options, and positive possibilities for growth. So, of course, nobody likes to feel judged when they're talking or feeling criticized. And that is unfortunately something, again, that we do sometimes, maybe when we're tired, when we have a bad day, maybe we're making assumptions about the person. But as much as we can, we want to try not to judge and really to learn from the situation and see that maybe there's something from our point of view that we're missing. So, offering people constructive feedback is a really, really great tool because course, we're going to run into differences sometimes. That's a natural part of collaboration. But constructive feedback means that you're always thinking, how is there a solution to a difference? How can you work together? How can you be really a true team rather than either being passive aggressive or just maybe ignoring the situation? We don't want to ignore situations, but we do want to think, how are we going to grow from that as a team? Second is becoming role models and mentors that inspire rather than judging or controlling people. So, yeah, especially if we're in a position of mentoring and leading people, people look up to us. They are also looking for guidance and seeking sometimes that sense of approval or acceptance. And so, the more we can inspire people to be their best selves and believe in them and believe in their capabilities and their gifts and their skills, they can feel that and then they're going to reflect that back to us. And you'll see it really can create lots of miracles in your life when you're just focusing on the positive about people. They really just start shining and opening up, and there's amazing teamwork that can happen that way. Asking open-ended questions. That's a really great way to facilitate conversation. Um, like a closed-ended question, as you probably all know, it usually means like there's a yes or no answer to that, which is kind of narrow. It doesn't really facilitate a sense of a dialogue. So opening open-ended questions, for example, if you're in a situation, let's say when you're working with somebody and you don't really understand something that they did, you might ask something like, well, how are you seeing this from your point of view? Instead of saying, um, I'm trying to think of like for example, if you would say something like, "Do you want to do this way or that way?" And then all they'll tell you is yes or no, but there won't be a sense of the conversation. But if you ask a person, "How do you see it from your perspective?" They're starting to feel as though you're genuinely interested in what they're doing, and also in that sense, you're able to open a back and forth and understanding into that sense of not feeling judged, but feeling understood. And yeah, having a positive win-win mindset. A lot of the time, there's a situation where it's like a win-lose, where somebody gets their way, but not everybody feels really included. And then it might feel good for a short term, but in the long term, if you want to work with people, it's really important that everybody feels included and heard because that's what's going to make sure that not only that they're thriving, but also you will thrive in the long term because other people have so many insights and tools to teach us. And then when sometimes it's not positive and it's not a win-win situation, we're actually the whole group basically misses out. Anyone, I don't know if anyone, for example, have examples or if you had situations like this at work where you felt that you had, a boss or a leader that maybe was a bit more on the negative critical side and how that kind of created like a very closed system where versus somebody where all of a sudden you felt free and you were able to express yourself and there was no judgment and all of a sudden you were like, wow, there is a safe place here, you know?
Oh yeah, I've worked in yeah, there's definitely been jobs, but I tend to leave those jobs when the environment is negative and it's like, well, why are you, I'm not just some slave to you. Like, I'm a person here with feelings. And it really gets my back up, to be honest, when people are yeah, they're not open. So for me, yeah, I'll just leave. And yeah, I'll just go find another job. So I don't know if that's, kind of like the easy road, but it's just yeah, there's nothing worse than working for someone that's negative and closed off to, hearing what other people have to say. It's the worst. It's very, yeah, sucks.
Yeah, and that's a great example because that's actually a perfect example of how a lot of time when there isn't a positive atmosphere within a team, people do leave, and then that costs the organization so much human resources and needing to rehire people all the time and train them and that's what I mean in the long term, it's so beneficial for everybody involved because you as as an employee doesn't enjoy, having to start over all over again. But then as an organization, they also lose a lot of resources that way. So yeah, it's definitely worth to invest in this team building aspect.
Absolutely. It's expensive. Employee retention is, yeah, costing a lot to rehire. Yeah, I feel that. But
Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna move into strategies to foster empathy. Of course, empathy is something that is a great building block in building trust and support and cohesion within people. Empathy basically is the ability to really relate to somebody in the deepest levels, where you can see situations from their point of view, even if you haven't necessarily experienced what the person has been through, but you can try as much as you can to imagine, to use your imagination, your intuition to try to understand what is it really that they're saying and conveying. So a big part of fostering that is utilizing nonviolent communication. I don't know if you've heard of, there's a famous author called Marshall Rosenberg. He wrote a book about nonviolent communication where he goes into describing how much in our culture, unfortunately, there is a very violent culture where we kind of blame each other without noticing, we say like, you did this and you did that. And he was saying how important it is to use I statements, meaning instead of, let's say if you are in a situation with people and you do feel very triggered or very misunderstood, and you would say, you completed this task wrong. That could be very true to how you feel. However, that's going to create a situation where the other person feels very judged and defensive. So the I statements basically mean saying, I'm feeling very frustrated in this situation. You own how you feel. You first of all check on with yourself about how you feel affected by the situation, and then you also offer this compassion and clarity about what it is that you want in terms of needs and outcome. So that kind of goes back to this notion of having a positive mindset, because whenever we know that there's a solution to every situation we're dealing with, we're already going to think, okay, this is just a temporary situation that's going to lead to greater growth. So basically saying what it is that you need, what it is that you're looking for, and having that outcome mentality rather than just the focus on what didn't work in that situation. Also having trauma-informed communication, creating a safe space for people to share with confidentiality. So, of course, the world of trauma, it's a very big word. It actually means so many different things to different people. But in a nutshell, you could say we all have been through different layers of trauma, some more than others, but everybody comes from a certain background of family and upbringing and education that wasn't necessarily ideal. And that means that we all have sometimes wounds, we have soft places where people don't understand why something might hurt our feelings. So there's certain trigger words, there's certain situations that um, we don't know what people are going through. And so, as much as we can to try to understand and learn about what the person has been through, where they're coming from, if they have special things that they're would be helpful for them to feel more safe. And also practicing that sense of confidentiality of definitely avoiding any kind of gossip or any kind of talking about people behind their back, because we really want to make sure that people feel safe, that whatever they're sharing with us stays with us in a safe container. And that way, we also know that if you create that as a team, as a group, you also know that whatever you share with them is going to stay with them. And lastly is empowering people to connect with their gifts and their resources. Um, this is a great way again to just connect with people, is coming with an approach and a mindset that everybody has skills, everybody's born with gifts to share with the world. Even if you think there's things you might not have, again, social media can be really difficult for that, because there's that sense of comparison and sometimes people feel inadequate, but actually every single person has a whole set of skills that they're here to share with the world. And the more we can empower people to express those, we can really see how people shine and create that beautiful atmosphere in the office. So there's great ways to do that. There's all sorts of like personality tests and different surveys you can do, and ways to explore first within yourself. What are things that you're good at, and you can always grow in that. And fill out different like questionnaires or look online. There's books, there's so many great resources that can teach you what are the things that you excel at. And then also as a team, as a group, you can participate in group activities where you can explore that together. And then that even feels better because then some people might highlight to you a gift that you're not even aware that you have, but other people see that. And then you realize like, wow, you actually have a lot more to offer than you realize. Yeah. Here's some questions, empowering questions for better communication. So things like, what do I value and appreciate about this person? How can we exchange positive insights for further growth? What do we have in common? Which values do we share? So oftentimes when we think about what makes us different and separates us, that creates further distance. But the more we think, oh wow, we actually do share and we do agree on some things, even though there's maybe plenty of things that you don't agree with, but there's that one or two points that can bring you back together to that center place of remembering what is the goal, what are things that you both want to accomplish that would feel like a great accomplishment. Um, that will foster that sense of better communication, will again create that sense of trust and growth. Any questions, comments?
No, I just screenshotted this so I could have these questions because those are great. Yeah. I love that. Like, what kind of values do you share? Because oftentimes we like to point out, well, I know I'm just looking at this from like with my partner perspective, there's a lot of, um, oh, he doesn't agree with me or she doesn't agree with me. And, so obviously they're wrong. But no, like, what do we, yeah, just check in. We share so many more similarities than we do. But why do we just focus on these, the differences? It kind of, I don't know, in society, they like to pull us apart by differences. But yeah, where are we similar? I think is way more powerful question to ask. So yeah.
Yeah, and that's why I love this topic so much because it really is so relevant to everything you do in your life. Like you could run into a situation with your mom or dad or boyfriend or somebody at the bus, like and we are communicating with each other all the time. And there's always different ways where we can learn to communicate better. And it really is that incredible feeling when you finally have that breakthrough with somebody, when you feel like you finally see each other, understand each other, and there's that sense that I think, yeah, we all deep down just want to feel respected for who we are and considered and that we
Yeah,
matter. And I think that's so important.
totally. And with this mentorship program, I don't know everyone. So I mean, I only know what's been written in these forms, and I do my best to kind of match people. But maybe the match is a little bit strange and you're like, oh, well, this person's totally different than I am, but there's always similarities, right? There's always something that you can connect. And I feel like everyone's got something that they can, share that is similar to their beliefs or what they do for hobbies or whatnot. So this is great. Yeah, I have to say. So there's always something in there. Everyone knows something that you don't as well, which is also something. And to try and figure that out is a good it's a good method of connection, I think. So yeah, I like these empowering questions. This is a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's also for me what I find is really helpful is to really have a lot of self-compassion towards ourselves because I find there really is something in the culture, but maybe also you could say throughout history where we were just not really taught how to communicate effectively. Something that in many ways I feel our generation and people to come, finally, there's more time and space to really foster that. And it does help also to notice what are our defense mechanisms, our coping mechanisms where we don't want to connect and really have compassion for that side as well, where we just sometimes want to shut down, we want to just disconnect, we don't have the energy because I find in many ways it does take more energy to connect than just to have an argument with somebody. So to really have that ability to say, okay, I want to just shut down right now and have the awareness towards that, but then still have the courage to stay in the conversation just a little bit longer, maybe another 5 minutes, or give that person just a few more seconds to try to talk. And a lot of time, what I noticed too, even with just the use of silence, like just listening, a lot of the time I was so surprised where I would just sit with somebody for like 30 seconds or a minute. It's just dead air. And all of a sudden they would say something. And I was like, wow, people really do open up if you just sit there and just hold space for them. So yeah.
It's the most awkward thing, though. I feel like when I'm with someone and they're like silent, I'm like, I got to fill up this air, with things. And yeah, that definitely is a good tactic to get stuff out of me. That's for sure. Just be quiet, and then I feel like I have verbal diarrhea and just will tell you all these things. But yeah, silence is powerful in that way. I remember Vanessa, like she starts all these groups that she organizes with this one intention, like it's the intention and the intention of seeing the best in someone so they can see the best in themselves, which I just love. Because yeah, even in their, their I guess not their crappiest moment, or when someone's really like what's the word, like low bar, like out of their perfect selves or whatnot, maybe they're kind of sliming a bit, just to check in and be like, hey, what's my intention? This is a person that I love and I want to be closer to. And so, yeah, try and look for those because you're right. It is way harder to stay in a conversation when it's so much easier just to be like, yeah, whatever. I'm just gonna talk to the hand. I'm just gonna check out, physically or mentally, just, check out of this conversation. And it's kind of cruel. I feel like, yeah, I sometimes do that with people that I love, and I don't want to do that. Yeah, this is a, yeah, there's some things that came up with that. So thank you for that as well. Yeah.
Yeah, it takes a lot of patience, and that's why it is always so important to practice a ton of self-care, because especially in any kind of field of social service and offering and working with people, it really does take a lot of energy, sometimes more than we realize. And so, especially as a lot of women, we tend to naturally feel so much compassion, empathy, and we want to give, and sometimes we cross into that self-sacrifice aspect of caring so much to the point where we start neglecting ourselves. And then that's kind of the downward spiral. So really going back to, yeah, loving our neighbor as ourselves and loving ourselves first. Even though that might feel like we're not doing enough, but really having that confidence and the faith that we just have to persevere and have the patience, and things do oftentimes work out. The more we take time just for the very basics, the nutrition, the hydration, rest, exercise, those things are so, so important in this profession. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, we're going to move into some ways to overcome connection barriers. So connection barriers is basically, yeah, when you're in a situation with somebody, kind of when you have maybe a trigger or disagreement, like we said, maybe one person is just having a bad day, and you're just not sure what to do. So first of all, just remaining present and patient and friendly, meaning that it's really sometimes just I don't know if you practice like meditation or mindfulness or any practice where you're just really trying as much as you can to be in your body and feel your feelings. And again, in this culture, we are actually very hyper mental. So a lot of the time, it takes a minute just to really drop into our body, and just be present, feel what the other person is saying. Kind of this line of saying, try to read between the lines of what people are saying, but then what is behind their words, what they're really saying. And that also takes a little bit of time to really read and hear the words behind the words that people say. So the more patience and friendliness we can have in that place facilitates that sense of connection. And yeah, that goes into that notion of giving a person a lot of time and space to share their thoughts and feelings. Um, Sometimes, we might have, let's say, this really long, awkward silence, and still somebody doesn't say anything. And to be okay with that as well, like not to be attached to an outcome that somebody has to say just because we practiced all the perfect skills, and that means that now they're going to talk to us. Like sometimes, of course, especially like with kids or teenagers, if you have a teenager, like it's not always like a formula that works every time. So that's why we also have to just be open and, in a sense, yeah, go with that flow. Just if it flows, that's okay. If it doesn't, just to give them time and space. And oftentimes people really, really appreciate that when you give that to them, not non-judgmentally. Remembering the fight, flight, fawn or freeze tendencies. So this kind of goes back to what we said about our coping mechanisms or different protective mechanisms where we get really, really triggered. I'm sure you all heard this so many times, right? The fight or flight is more common where people kind of lash out at you, or you just want to go into your shell and you don't want to talk to anybody. The fawn and freeze are maybe a little bit less noticed, but it's interesting that it's something that's becoming more in the mainstream where people understand that sometimes going too much into people pleasing and trying to have too much of agreement because we're afraid of conflict. It's actually a trigger response where we're not really able to be fully authentic. We're not really able to say, "Hey, I actually disagree," and in the long term, that can lead to greater disconnection because we're not really sharing our truth. So um, that's something to notice. And then also freeze, where yeah, people just kind of they're there, they're with you physically, but they're not really present. And maybe they go into all the stories in our mind. I'm sure all of us have been there where you just have all these like assumptions and ideas and catastrophizing in your head of all these different ways, but you're not able to convey that and just again having compassion for yourself or for the person if you do experience somebody does that sometimes with you. Um, just be patient. Remember that that is something that is universal. Almost you could say probably in every country that you're going to go to, people we're because we're human and we're so relatable in that sense. But I think that helps to also remember that it's not just us. It's just a very normal, natural thing. And the more we're compassionate and patient with that person, slowly we can start to kind of melt the ice and start to facilitate connection. And then that goes to the last point of seeing beyond any negative behavior. So this is, I think, where it really takes a lot of inner work, where we, as a society, I find especially, you know, wanting to blame, wanting to be right, wanting to be the person that wins and more than anybody else, and that can start to really create situations where we start to stereotype people or stigmatize them to a point where they don't feel like they're being seen for the entirety of who they are. And all of a sudden, we start labeling people. Oh, he's just an angry person. Oh, she's just messy. Or oh, he's always late. And when we do that, we actually miss out on the opportunity to see, okay, that's just a temporary behavior. Maybe that person is going through something at home. Maybe they're going through something in their work and trying to really see beyond the behavior and again go back to see the person. And also remembering that, yeah, we're all human, we're not perfect, and just to try to also to offer forgiveness for ourselves and others. And it doesn't mean that we don't recognize those. We can still confront that in a helpful way so we don't neglect addressing those situations, but just not to get stuck on labeling people for that, if that makes sense. Yeah. Okay, some suggestions for action, things you can take with you. Hopefully, you can start using that today. Like I mentioned before, practicing as much self-care as you can, whether it's meditation, awareness practices, gratitude lists, prayer, um, journaling, something that just grounds you and reminds you of all the positive things in your life, all your goals, or the things that bring you joy and excitement ideally before either you start your day or your work shift, just so that you're also ready to start to interact with people in a positive way. If possible, and if your situation with people, you can also share some food, like offer fruit or water to the person. That is a great way to create connection, just in terms of, every time we're eating together, first of all, our blood sugars is up to par, and we're maybe just needing that little bit of hydration. Or a piece of fruit can really help you just all of a sudden snap out of some some crazy story you have in your mind. But also, of course, yeah, it feels really good when, those situations when someone just like sees you and brings you a cup of water and you're like, wow, they see me, they care about me. And that goes a long way, those little acts of kindness. Then asking lots of questions and be gentle and soft in your body language, choice of words, and tone of voice. So this is usually really the rule of erring with caution and being really on the safe side of things of if we have a choice between saying too much or too little, try to really say less and really practice that sense of silence as much as you can, because a lot of the time, really, our words are so, so powerful, and we all probably say things that we don't mean or when we're tired or angry. And uh, again, we can't be like some perfect robots and also say the perfect word, but try as much as you can, really, just to reflect and think, is that word really going to help that person grow, or is it might bring them down? And that really helps a lot. And lastly, increase your skills. Learn, practice education, imagination, empathy, all those listening skills. That's one of the things I love the most about our like media cultures. There's so many resources. You can just read and watch videos and read books and go to seminars, and there's really so much incredible information that people are sharing with each other about how to learn and grow. And you can find that in movies and poetry and theater. Like, so just try to also make it fun and playful, and find ways that are enjoyable to learn how to be a better communicator. And speaking about film and some books, these are some resources that I put together, just some information that helped me in my journey. So, like I mentioned before, this is the Nonviolent Communication book by Marshall Rosenberg. You can also find a lot of really interesting videos of him on YouTube. Another thing is kind of more like an old school movie called Good Will Hunting, with Robin Williams and Matt Damon. And it's a really sweet way of seeing a mentor who finds this kind of like a troubled kid who doesn't really understand himself in life, and really helps him to open up and get through a lot of barriers into fears and feeling kind of an outcast. And the way he approaches him and manages to get through to his heart is really, really beautiful. I would really recommend that. It's a really sweet movie. Um, there's also a book by a woman that I don't know if she still lives in Salt Spring Island, but I know she did for a while. Toko Pa. She wrote a book called Belonging, speaking about her experience of growing up kind of in a troubled home and then living in the streets for a few years and trying to build a community for herself, and all the turmoil and trouble of trying to connect with people. And it's a really, really sweet way, the way she articulates herself so vulnerably. How really terrifying it is, I think, for most of us to be so open and vulnerable with our most fragile feelings, and of course the fears of being rejected, being judged, being outcast. But I find really to still have the courage to be the person who opens up, and it's incredible how much so many people then feel safe also to say, "Oh, me too. I've also experienced that. I've also been there." And just takes that one person who's having the courage to speak up about those things. Um, and lastly, a book by Ryan Holiday called The Obstacle is the Way. Also, really, really great book. Ryan Holiday, in general, he speaks a lot about philosophy and ancient philosophy and how to bring that into everyday life. And a lot of what he's talking about in the book is really just how to see challenges as opportunities for growth. And even though, again, a lot of time our instinct and our impulse is just to run away from pain and go towards pleasure. But what he's saying is there is a lot of gifts in going through the struggle. And even though we're wired maybe to have this instant gratification, we always want to feel good, but we are missing out on the depth and the beauty in really facilitating strong, meaningful, long-term relationships when we're able to get through the muck and the tunnel and the dark night of the soul, and actually able to see that we are such complex and diverse human beings, and it's not superficial anymore. You're really able to be mature in that way. So yeah, hopefully you find these interesting, and if there are any other resources that you find really helpful, or movies or books that you want to share with the community, please do. Um, and yeah, we're just gonna give some time here for people to ask any questions, share any stories. I'd really love to hear how you think this is gonna be relevant in your life, or if you have any questions on things I shared.
I'll give someone else an opportunity. I feel like I'm talking a lot. Are any of you, there you go, Jen.
Thank you so much for sharing today. I learned a lot from your presentation. I just have one quick question here. How do you build rapport when you are having a job interview with the hiring
How,
manager?
how do I feel what? Sorry.
How do you build a rapport with the hiring manager?
Mhm.
You have the job interview, and especially it's online.
That's a good question. Yeah, I mean, I would say for me personally, what I find is, first of all, as much as you can, to take the time to really learn about the company or the organization that you want to get involved with, because um, I find that hiring managers really appreciate where they see that you've done the homework and the kind of the background work into understanding what is the mission and the vision of the organization, what are also the key elements, the goals that they're trying to accomplish, who are the key players within that organization, and then how you can fit in within that. Because then they feel that for you, it's not just a job to get a paycheck, but you're really there to try to assist them and become part of the team. So that's one thing that I'm thinking about. And then also, similar to the things we talked before, like having that very comfortable, like open body language, trying as much as you can to maintain eye contact, even though it can be nerve-wracking. And I sat in a lot of job interviews where you just feel so uncomfortable, but really as much as you can, try to have that positive mindset that whatever is meant to be will be. So you're also not overly attached to the outcome. You're just there to learn and see that even if because sometimes when you come to job interview and you really, really want it and you more in like that competitive mindset that actually feels like it's more like closed off versus if you're just there to learn and you're just there to share your skills and also remind yourself of all the skills, look at your resume before you go there, try to remind yourself how accomplished you are, all the success, all the education, all the hard work, all the tools and talents that you have will give you a lot of confidence to go in there and remember like how valuable you are, you know?
Absolutely. Well, that's great. Like, there's also another thing that I like to do in interviews is I like to turn the tables. Like when they say, "Oh, is there any other questions that you have or whatnot?" I always like to turn it on them and be, like, "Do you like working here? Like, how is your experience working within here?" Just remembering that they're a person as well, and really be curious about who they are and their experience within the organization. A lot of them are kind of not taken aback, but they're like, "Oh." Oh yeah, well that's a good, I mean I sort of and you also get a vibe as to like, is it a good place to work? Maybe they're like, yeah, I love the people here, the dynamic's great. We got a good team. Or maybe they're like, oh, yeah, it's a good place. You can kind of get a lot from their response. Yeah, that's something um that I tend to do. And also people love talking about themselves, so it's always nice to kind of turn it back to the interviewer. I mean, yeah, but I love the eye contact one. Yeah, trying to hold their gaze and be open. Yeah.
And thank
Thank
you. I
you so
love this word curiosity. It's such a key word. Like just yeah, always remind yourself like, oh wow, yeah, interesting, how curious. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, and make sure that you really feel that you are the best for that job. Like when you go in there, like know wholeheartedly that there's no one else that could do that job better, and that you're like a gift in not like a narcissistic way, but you are a gift. You're giving up your time
Hmm.
for this other person's dream, and to know that and to have conviction in it and sit in it and just really like own it, and they'll feel that as well. They'll feel that you're not like, oh, please, sir, can I have some more? Like,
Yeah.
or like, hey, I'm here. You're welcome. Here I am. Like, I mean, in a way. Um, yeah, that's also, but not in a cocky way, obviously, but there's like a fine line. But yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And that really is so true, like what we shared earlier, especially about empowering women, because a lot of the time, unfortunately, women, they do take kind of the back seat or maybe they don't value themselves as much because there's so much advertisement and so many messages that bring us down in so many different ways. So really try to remember as much as you can really your value. And that's why, first of all, it's the inner self-talk that we give to ourselves before we start collaborating with other people, because oftentimes, they say the way people talk to you is the way they talk to themselves. So really practice first that understanding that you're so valuable and so talented. And yeah, I would really recommend going through, I don't know if you've done already in the past, different, like even personality tests, like Myers-Briggs, or there's a great book called Strength Finder, where you just fill out different questionnaires and it shows you what the things that you excel at, and then you're like, wow, you just boost your confidence. So it's a really good one.
Yeah. For one time meeting you, Ichin, like I can tell that you're already like you're going places, that's for sure. You have a really good energy about you and you're really like with it, and yeah, you've got stuff to offer this world. So I can't wait to get to know you more. But
Thank you, Taryn. I feel the same for you.
oh, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Eliona, for your sharing.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't know if anyone else has anything to say before we close today. Or Mary?
Yeah, hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so thanks so much, Eliora, I'm pronouncing that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and Taryn for putting these together. I'm very, very impressed. I'm actually returning to work soon. I'm just on leave of absence. And so I'm very grateful that I have this I'm able to make it to this presentation. The book Obstacle is the Way. I have that, and also the Four Agreements. If I don't know if you've read that,
Yeah.
and the Goodwill Hunting. That was many years ago. I remember watching that more than once. So, and what you said, just a few more comments. What you said about the question earlier, I I think she had to jump off for another event. Just making sure you're aligned with the mission and vision of this, hiring person, and making sure you know the key stakeholders. I love that. The only question I have is, are we allowed to get a copy of the slide deck? So, because we're starting this mentorship soon, and I just wish there were more people here because, and I don't know, but you probably do this a lot, Eliora, because you are a pro to me. Not just your presentation, but also more than that, more importantly, is your listening skills. So I would really, really just encourage you, affirm you to do more of this as your time and your energy allows, because if you cast a wider net, I've seen a lot of presentations. Like I work for the government, and this is just a great reminder. You're able to put such a how do I put it? Like this just loaded topic, and you were able to compress it, condense it in this short period of time. That's amazing. So thank you. And if I'm not able to get a copy of the slide deck, it's okay. I understand. So yeah, I really, really appreciate you both and everyone here today.
Thank you, Mary. That's very, very sweet to hear and receive. And, it just kind of reminds me too of this beautiful thing about empowerment and really just like having like a shout out for each other. Because, it's kind of like what I was trying to say earlier. Like, there's so much work we can do internally to boost our confidence, but when you receive it with somebody else, when someone offers you whether a cup of water or compliment, it's so powerful. And I think that is really beautiful to create a new culture where we find and we highlight the best in each other. And it's amazing the kind of things it can create. And for sure, yeah, I will pass on the presentation and the recording so you can review it later for sure. Yeah.
Think maybe what I'll do is if you don't mind sharing the slide deck, I can even put it on the website for people when they can download it as well, so they can download the slide deck as well. If that's all right,
Yeah.
Eliora?
I
Wow,
think
thank
so.
you
Yeah,
both
I think that should
so
be fun.
much.
Yeah.
You're welcome. Well, if that's okay with you, Eliora, I'm assuming it's okay, but if it's not, no problem.
Yeah, I think that should be fine. I'll just put it together in an email, and then it helps to review because it's something we kind of remind ourselves all the time, really. So yeah.
I'm definitely looking forward to the next workshop with you. Mary you nailed it with regards to like Eliori, like the way you present is just so calming and like and it just like the compact and it's just like perfect. There was no like fluffy, unnecessary things. It was just like it was so efficient
Direct.
and great. Yeah, direct. Yeah, it was perfect. Yes.
Thank
No
you.
worries, Okay, she's gone. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
anything
well,
else?
thank you, ladies.
That was just
Yeah,
great. Yeah,
Yeah,
sorry.
And I'll be
pleasure
sure
meeting
to,
you.
oh, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, Mary.
There's a lag, sorry. Yeah, before I jump off, thank you again for your time. And also, I'll be sure to quote the source if I'm sharing it with my coworkers and even my personal, relationship, family, and friends. I'll be sure to quote you. And I believe Taryn will be able to provide your information as well, Eliora. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna leave. This is actually, I'm just gonna put this in the chat and we
Oh,
can
there you go.
put this
Perfect.
later. This is my website. It's my personal website. It's called wayoflife.earth. So
Okay.
you can also, yeah, just reach out if you have any other further questions or you want to look into more workshops that I offer. It's something that I do primarily online. And yeah, I'm assuming we're going to meet up sometime soon for the next workshop as well. Yeah.
Yeah,
Sweet.
hopefully. Yeah, thanks, Terry, so much. I look forward to the mentorship. Yeah, I got an email from my mentee already.
Oh, wonderful. That's good. Well, I wish you all the best with that, and I can't wait to
Yeah.
hear how it goes.
Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day.
You too.
Thanks.
Thank
You
you.
You.
Bye
too.
for now.
Thank you. All right, Elior, that was awesome.